Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Clutch Jump. Tonight, we are discussing, a little bit late, but we're discussing all of the motorsports action from last week. And yet again, another episode from me being in Dallas. So we've had a very busy week full of travels and episodes and lemons and a lot more. And it is all coming to you fresh off the skillet here at the Clutch Dump. If you have not already, make sure to follow us on social media at the Clutch Dump Pod on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. Hint, hint, wink, wink. We got a couple coming down the pipe you won't want to miss. If you're on
pretty good
podcasts, make sure to follow and subscribe on those platforms. Leave a rating for the show if you enjoy it. Share it with your friends. Let them know about us. Word of mouth is the best tool, and in addition to that, make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Clutch Dump. I'm not on Instagram. Ben runs that. And then if you just want little news bits, you can follow me on Twitter at NicholasPatty21.
Follow Nick on Twitter. There's a solid chance that the podcast will get a Twitter soon, and I'll probably just repost everything that Nick posts. So
fair enough. We could do that. But anyway,
that might just happen.
If you're an avid social media user and you want to keep up with the show and you don't have the time to listen, feel free to follow us there.
20 years of trying, 20 years.
And Senna sprints away.
Banana straight. Rossi's right in behind Lorenzo.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
We have Formula One, we have MotoGP, we have IndyCar News, we have NHRA, IMSA, and NASCAR. And I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's Superbike and some other tiddly bits.
IMSA, British Superbike, and Formula Drift.
There you go. So, Ben, I think the last time when we tried recording this before Ben's software took a kablamo.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is the first time we've ever tried to record episode 77.
Do you want to go ahead and start with Formula Drift?
I will start with Formula Drift, and then we'll touch on some news bits and go from there. So this past weekend, we did have a round 7 of the 2023 Formula Drift season in Grantsville, Utah. Pretty interesting track. And I'm not going to run through your entire top 32 because that would take far too long, and we have, frankly, far better things to get to. But I'm going to run through your standings going into round 7, as this is turning out to be quite the season ender. So going into round 7, Chelsea DeNofa was leading, followed by Frederick Osbo. Matt Field and Odie Bakshies were tied for third position. And then Simon Olsen, who was Odie Bakshies' teammate, was in fourth. Some notes from the event. James Dean in the RTR Mustang was knocked out in the top 16 by Chris Forsberg. Forsberg was later knocked out by Matt Field in the Great 8. Ryan Turk knocked out Frederick Osbo in the Great 8. Odie Bakshies was knocked out by his teammate Simon Olsen in the top 16. That was a pretty fun battle to watch. It was really a apprentice becoming the master type situation, as Odie Bakshies has really helped Simon Olsen kick off his Formula Drift career. So that was a pretty fun battle to watch. Matt Field beat Simon Olsen in the final 4. Chelsea DeNofa beat Ryan Turk in the final 4. And then Chelsea DeNofa and Matt Field had a quite aggressive final battle, as DeNofa was hit hard by Matt Field in the finals, and Field was deemed at fault. So for those of you that don't watch Formula Drift,
that's me. I'm you.
That'd be you. So Formula Drift is a one-of-a-kind motorsport in that it's a judged sport. Right. So it's not done on...
There's no objective metric.
There is no objective metric. So it's done on line... I can't remember what the criteria are, but it's like line, style, and angle or something like that. There's 3 judges. They all judge on 3 criteria, and then they give you a final score. But what can happen is you can have an incomplete run, and there's various factors for that. And one of those factors is hitting the guy in front of you really hard and causing both of you to spin out. That's one of them. So Matt Field was deemed...
But that seems unfair.
That's an issue. So Matt Field was deemed at fault for that, and they both got their cars fixed in time, which is pretty impressive because I think they replaced the rear left suspension, the rear bumper, and the rear crash structure on Chelsea DeNofa's Mustang in 10 minutes.
Little things.
Crazy quick. And then your results: Chelsea DeNofa won round 7. That is his 3rd victory of the 7 rounds so far this season. Matt Field came 2nd, Simon Olsen came 3rd, and then Ryan Turk came 4th. So really weird, interesting thing is qualifying actually means a huge amount in Formula Drift.
Doesn't that determine your bracket, like your rounds?
It determines your bracket, and they do a reverse bracket, which I've always thought is kind of weird, but it actually makes sense. It really emphasizes how important qualifying is, because like in the top 32, the person who qualified first and the person who qualified 32nd battle. That's the battle. So like that one's kind of dumb. You can kind of predict who wins there, but then at some point that means 15th and 16th are battling, and that's where it gets really interesting. But later, when you move up the bracket and you get closer towards Final Four and stuff, you know, third and fourth position are determined by qualifying position.
Right.
Because third and fourth don't battle each other. It's 2 battles in the Final Four, and then the winners of those battle for the win. And that obviously determines first and second. But the ones who lost those second to last battles, basically whoever qualified higher gets third.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's weird of, you know, like, you could both lose a battle, and one of you might have beaten the other one, but just because one dude qualified a position in front of you means that he gets third. So Simon Olsen third, Ryan Turk fourth. Your standings now going into round 8. Chelsea Denofa leads the championship with 464 points. Matt Field in second with 411. Simon Olsen with 387 in fourth, and Frederick Osbo in fourth with 383. Now, something to note, technically, I think it's like first through fifth can win the championship this year, because there's 101 points on the line for every round. If you win the round,
right,
you get 101 points. So technically anyone can win, but I think if you make it into the top 16, you get points, which really means it's only first through fourth that can win the championship this year. But Chelsea Nova has been fantastic. I think RTR Mustangs have won 5 of the 7 rounds this year. They built a outstanding car this year. So they've
first S650 today.
What do you think? I want your opinion. We'll detour from this. Thoughts?
The headlights are not as good in person as they look in pictures.
Okay, so I thought the headlight
very narrow, like very small.
As is the trend for cars these days. I wasn't super offended by the head. So I've seen 2 S650s. I saw the Dark Horse at Le Mans, and then I've seen an EcoBoost just driving around.
That's what I saw, EcoBoost.
So the Dark Horse looks good. It really beefens up the car. The headlights I'm okay with. Did you see the taillights?
No, I didn't walk around the back.
Okay.
We were late this morning, but, that's a separate story.
The taillights, I'm a bit more skeptical of, because it's essentially the same rear end of an S550. They just made the taillights just
flat.
This, and they made them more angled in.
Well, meaning that the taillights don't protrude from the rear face.
Yeah. It's like one flat piece, but it does one of those, and it looks super weird. To me, I think it's fine. I think it'll grow on me. I think when the S550 came out, everyone thought it was weird, and now they're kind of normal. So, but I think it's an alright looking car. But regardless, RTR Mustang killing it in Formula Drift this season. We have 1 round left at Irwindale, California, the home of Formula Drift, October 14th. So stay tuned for that. Nick, do we want to run through some news bits real quick?
Yes, I would love to. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a quick fire motorsports news segment. So buckle up. From Sports Car 365, 13 hours ago at the time of this recording, Andretti Global is now going to be undertaking a full season in IMSA GTD competition with an updated Aston Martin Vantage GT3 Evo. If you're an avid IMSA watcher, you will remember they ran a select few races this year with the Aston Martin, but they are obviously now having rebranded from Andretti Autosport, going to
Andretti Global
full season with the Aston Martin.
That'd be rad.
Craft Bamboo Racing, which is the Fanatec GT World Challenge team, has recruited Raffaele Marciello, Jules Gounon, and Maximilian Goetz for the Indy 8-hour World GT race, which are arguably the 3 strongest Mercedes drivers on the planet, and they're all in the same car. And they won last year. So that's going to be a really tall order. Getting into some drag racing stuff, we're going to go through results later. Guys, Tony Stewart is leading the championship in top alcohol dragster with 1 weekend left.
Is the craziest thing. I saw that. That's so cool.
Buck wild. So I'm happy. In more IMSA news, Paul Miller Racing, having finished Indianapolis, has won the 2023 IMSA GTD Championship with 1 race to spare. Right now, they are sitting on a record of 5 race wins in a season, and we still got a race left. So if Paul Miller wins Petit Le Mans, they're just going to be beating their own record. Moving on, yep. Chip Ganassi Racing in IndyCar has expanded its lineup to 5 cars going into next season. And
Jesus
the latest
Christ.
driver is going to be Kiffin Simpson, who's been a test and reserve driver. And then Formula One news, because the Padre is Padre, Fernando Alonso has become the first driver in Formula One history to complete 100,000 kilometers in race conditions. Not qualifying, not practice, not testing.
Yeah.
Race conditions.
Race laps. By the way, for those of you who speak American, we use anything but the metric system. That's approximately 2 trips around the equator in a Formula One car during a race.
Well, so somebody F1 had posted he's like 32% complete in terms of the distance to the moon.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, the dude has been driving for so long, and that's race conditions. That doesn't count practice, testing, qualifying.
Yeah, none of that.
You're literally missing, like, probably, I don't know, a quarter, a fifth, maybe a quarter of the laps. Like, that's crazy.
I guarantee you, if you included practice, testing, and qualifying, it would more than double that. Because if you think about it, a race is between 50 and 70 laps, but granted, guys, they're all about the same distance, but it's based off of the mileage of the track. So 50 to 70 laps is about the same distance per race. But in testing, they'll do hundreds and hundreds of laps.
Right. I didn't think about preseason testing. Plus, Alonso's old, and that's from back when you could just do F1 testing, preseason testing as much as you wanted. Jesus, that dude has driven...
He's easily done 225,000 kilometers in an F1
Probably, yeah, now that I think about it. Yeah, that's crazy. That is a crazy amount of time to be sitting in a Formula One.
That I care about.
But, Nick, they're all for Wikipedia, so it doesn't matter, right?
And nobody reads Wikipedia, that's why.
Nobody reads Wikipedia, so it's okay. Do you have any more news bits, sir?
No, that's from what I can recollect, all of the little tiddly news bits. But, for those of you listening, I just think it's easier to go through and knock them out rather than trying to remember by the time we go through each series the news from each. So,
I've got a few news bits that we're going to run into. These are a bit more discussion open.
Ooh.
Please, excuse me. So, for starters, keeping it on terms of sports cars and Formula One, Alex Albon, next year, driving in the 24 Hours of Daytona, which is rad because you would expect an international driver to pick the 24 Hours of Le Mans of anything to go drive in, but the 24 Hours of Daytona is super cool. However, this isn't confirmed yet. I didn't see that it was confirmed. The thing that I sent you was it is highly suspected by a very reliable source.
I think it's confirmed. I'm going to double check while you're talking, but the other thing to mention is he's going to be competing with Wayne Taylor Racing in the Acura. So not only is he competing,
I didn't see anything about the car. So if they've announced the car,
it's with Wayne Taylor.
Okay, perfect. Then it is confirmed. Okay, so that was going to be my question, was because I hadn't seen anything about what team or what car he was going to be in. So he's going to be in an RDX 06, the hypercar.
Yes.
Damn, that's cool.
So, when whoever it was had said, Felipe Albuquerque saying it's a current F1 driver and they're doing well this season, Shelby was like, babe, we have to go to Daytona. And I was like, we don't have the money. We have no savings. Like,
we've done this.
We have to go to Daytona. Max or Fernando's going to be at Daytona. We have to go. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then it's Alex Albon. I'm like, thank God I did not rush out and buy tickets because I was so upset if I'm like, yes, let's drop everything to go. And it's Alex Albon. But, what can you do? Oh, also, leaked, hasn't been confirmed, but like heavily leaked, is Aston Martin resuming the Valkyrie hypercar program for Le Mans.
Yes. Okay. So I've read into this because I'm super interested in this because it's like my favorite street car that's been built in the past year that doesn't have a Porsche badge on the front.
Obviously.
I covered myself. I said that doesn't have a Porsche badge on the front.
Okay.
But so that program is not being done by Aston Martin.
Right.
That is
probably being done by...
It's a third-party team. Like, it's outside. It's a privateer team, privateer company that is reverting the Valkyrie to LMH specs. So, for those of you that don't know or don't recall and haven't listened to our previous episode, the Valkyrie was supposed to be... The Valkyrie...
LMH car, right?
Was supposed to be an LMH car, yes. Was supposed to be an LMH car, so there was not supposed to be a street car. It was designed by Adrian Newey, because at the time, the team was Red Bull Aston Martin. That was the Formula One team. So they designed it by Adrian Newey. That's how they got around some cost cap things, supposedly, was they took Red Bull engineers and basically stuck them in Aston Martin.
Yeah, they put them in the Aston Martin office. They walked in and they're like, where's the break room?
Yeah. So basically, they took Red Bull engineers and had them build a Le Mans hypercar. And then, about midway through that, after the project was announced, then it was announced that Aston Martin is leaving Red Bull and starting their own team, or buying, what was it, Racing Point or Force India? It was Racing Point at the time. So they bought Racing Point. So that became the Aston Martin Formula One team, which means there was no need for an Aston Martin Red Bull anymore.
Yeah, actually, it would have been Lawrence Stroll owned Racing Point and then bought Aston.
Right, that's how it was technically. Anyway, Racing Point became
out in the comments.
Yes, thank you for covering me from the internet. So Racing Point became Aston Martin, which means there was no longer a need.
Meme of the soldier with the shield covering.
Yes,
you're the infant making inaccurate.
That's me. That's tiny me.
That's little Ben.
So there was no need for Le Mans hypercar anymore because Aston Martin basically couldn't afford to do both.
Because Aston Martin, up until 2018, I believe, had not had a single profitable year of business.
Yeah. They probably could now because Aston Martin sells crazy number of cars now.
Right. Because it's mass produced.
Well, because it's mass produced. I say crazy number of cars. I think they still sell less cars than like McLaren, maybe not McLaren, but certainly less than Ferrari. So it's actually a shockingly low amount of cars. But basically the Valkyrie was supposed to be an LMH car. Then it wasn't going to be because they were going to have the program. But they had this car lying around that they had dumped tons of money into. So they were like, throw a license plate on it, sell it to people. So that's what they did, and they turned it into a road car. And now people have decided that you can actually just buy a Valkyrie. They exist. People own them.
Yep.
Which means people own LMH cars to a degree. So there's a company that is going to turn a Valkyrie into a car that abides by the LMH rulebook and can go race in WEC, which will be super rad. By the way, is what I've seen posted today at 3:57 p.m., it is still speculated that it will be Alex Albon to race. It was speculated that it was going to be Fernando or Max, and now the current theory is Alex Albon. But it has not been announced. It has been announced that a Formula One driver will race for the Acura team of Wayne Taylor Racing.
It was according to Marshall Pruitt, so... Again, so I'm reading that it hasn't been confirmed, but Marshall Pruitt has said...
Marshall Pruitt believes Albon is the driver in question. So that makes sense because Acura is Honda and Red Bull at the moment is Honda, so that makes sense.
So, Marshall Pruitt had said it was mentioned that a Formula One driver would be part of its Rolex 24-hour rotation. I have heard on a pretty good account that the driver is Alex Albon. I had one source in particular who tends to be immaculate when it comes to this information. He goes, it's not something I've heard from the team because I haven't asked.
Okay. That's about as close to confirmed as you can get without being confirmed.
Yeah, I mean...
So that's pretty good. We're going to leave that at that. Very excited to see Alex Albon drive in an LMDH car. That'll be super exciting. Some MotoGP news, because we did not have a GP race last weekend, and we may not have a MotoGP race this weekend. But silly season is in full swing, ladies and gentlemen.
And by the silly season, we don't just mean ride announcements. We mean, like, ever gotten on a plane? That's part of silly season now.
That's part of silly season now. So real quick, some
customs. Mark Marquez hasn't.
Some driver news real quick. Franco Morbidelli will ride for the Prima Pramac Ducati team for the 2024 season.
Intended Italians on Ducatis.
Which I am so stoked for because I feel like Franco Morbidelli gets a ton of, just bad press because he's really fallen off after his accident in 2021. In 2020, people forget he came second in the World Championship behind Joan Mir. It's the forgotten MotoGP season, and I think will forever be that. And I can't wait for there to be a Netflix documentary about it in 5 years, just because that's how motorsport works now.
Yeah.
But Franco Morbidelli moving to Prima Pramac, which is fantastic, which makes sense. We knew that he was leaving factory Yamaha because...
Yes.
Because, brain fart. Because Alex Rins is going to factory Yamaha. So that's how we knew that was going to happen. So Morbidelli going to Pramac. He's taking Johan Zarco's seat, who's going to LCR Honda. And leaving LCR Honda is Alex Rins, who is going to factory Yamaha. So there's your weird circle of MotoGP rotations for that. And the news that I think is actually breaking, Taka Nakagami keeps his seat at LCR Honda for 2024.
And if you're asking, who's Taka Nakagami?
That's a good question. So Taka Nakagami is a rider that you either really love or you genuinely just have no opinion about.
And by really love, like...
I mean, dude, I read through some comments on the MotoGP Instagram post, and there are some diehard Nakagami fans in there. So for those of you wondering, Taka Nakagami has been in MotoGP for, his first season was 2018, if I remember correctly. That makes 95 Grand Prix, by the way. He has 0 podiums.
How many top 10s?
I think... he actually did quite well in 2019 and 2020, and then he kind of fell off after that.
Okay, maybe 10 top 10s? Maybe?
I think it's double digits. I think it's like 15, something like that.
Okay, you're talking, let's call it a 17% top 10 rate.
Like, I think in 2019, he finished 5th in the championship.
Aren't there only 18 riders?
20.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, 22. Actually, I think this year there's like 27 because everyone's broken.
Oh, right.
When you count in stand-ins. But Taka Nakagami, 95 GPs, 0 podiums, which has to be approaching on some sort of record. We're looking at you, Nico Hulkenberg.
I was going to say.
Like, he's got to be close to whatever that record is. Now, I have nothing against Taka Nakagami.
I do.
There's no reason for me to hate the guy. He's kind of just there. And it's one of those things of like occasionally he gets a top 10 and you're like, oh, hey, right, that guy.
You're right.
He's kind of just there. So it was very funny because they announced he keeps his seat at LCR Honda, which for those of you who don't know, there's the LCR Honda team, which is the satellite Honda team, is basically split in half. One bike which is the
Isn't LCR what used to be Gresini?
Yes. So it was Gresini Honda,
okay.
And now it's LCR Honda because Gresini went to Ducati.
But Gresini's still a team?
Yes, Gresini's still a team.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. They just race Ducatis now.
Okay.
But LCR Honda is basically split in half. One of the bikes is a Castrol livery bike, which looks fantastic.
Yeah, hot.
And that's the bike that Alex Rins is currently riding. And then the other bike is Taka Nakagami's bike, which is in a completely different livery.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks fine. But the seat that Taka Nakagami is in, LCR Honda has stated, that seat will always be occupied by a Japanese rider.
Which that list is schmull.
Which is a very small list. Unlike certain Ducati teams...
With Italian
looking at you, Mooney VR46, who are like, we will only have Italian riders. Which is fine. Very large list. Now here's the problem. There's a man named Ayagura, and Ayagura is in Moto2, and is currently 11th in the Moto2 Championship. Granted, there's 40...
Nakagami's highest finish of this season.
However, there's 40 2 people in Moto2 this year.
Yeah, that's a lot more impressive.
It's a crazy amount of people. So he's not, not doing crazy. But in his Moto2 career, 47 races, 3 victories, 10 podiums.
Better. Just better.
Here's the thing.
Get this man.
Even if it's not better, it's not worse.
Well, exactly. It's like Logan Sargent, Nicholas Latifi, where it's like, sure, another rookie might not do better, but
it's not a step up. It might just be a step over.
Yeah,
like we might have just moved, over on the stairs.
Yeah, it's just a side.
I'm so confused as to why Taka Nakagami has a seat. It makes no sense to me, and it's quite funny because the comments on the MotoGP Instagram post were either, "Why is he still here?" or "If you put this guy on a Ducati, he would win. Like he would beat Marquez's championship records." And I'm like, "All right, guys, you need to relax. This is ridiculous."
Go back to watching Attack on Titan and stop getting in MotoGP Twitter.
But congrats to Taka Nakagami, I guess.
Got a seat, I don't, so.
For still being in Honda.
Yeah.
However, this weekend, maybe, is the Indian Grand Prix. There's been some travel issues. So, real quick, the Indian Grand Prix, this is supposed to be the first MotoGP race at this venue. Track opened in 2011. It held the Indian Formula One Grand Prix from 2011.
New Delhi?
No. It's a different track.
I thought that was the one that hosted an F1 race.
So they hosted the Indian F1 Grand Prix from 2011 through 2013, and modifications to the track to allow it to be homologated by the FIM, that's the FIA for motorcycles, were only recently completed. I mean, like, last week. They were finished.
Circuit?
Bood International Circuit, BUDDH International Circuit.
Yeah, that's the only one that F1 raced at.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I know that Sebastian Vettel holds a lap record there, which is kind of cool.
Interesting. Apparently, F1 stopped racing there because of a tax dispute with the Uttar Pradesh government.
Yes, they did. That's kind of why this track disappeared off the map.
I guess it'll be cool to watch the maybe race.
So it should be interesting. Basically, I looked at the track maps. The only difference is they cut out a chicane for the motorcycles. Which, fine, that's all right. So it was actually a really weird complex because it's like a super fast left-hander, and then it's like
playing that track on F1 2013 on Xbox, and that track was awesome.
I'm not that old, but I did look at some onboards before this, and I didn't play F1 2013. I think the first F1 I played was like 2017. Sorry, I'm not old, but I looked at some onboards. It looks cool. It's a good-looking track, but they had to do some updates. Basically, they had to change some runoffs and some tire walls, turn them into the airbag barriers instead for motorcycles because people hit walls instead of cars. That's a problem.
As you do.
So they had to change them, and like they're going to approve the homologation of the track like tomorrow, I think, for the MotoGP. Like it's super crazy close that they're cutting this. So Aleix Espargaro, it's
actually not close because all the riders haven't gotten there yet.
We're gonna get to that. Apparently, that's been fixed. So Aleix Espargaro apparently is like the team cap. Like he runs the group. He's the George Russell of MotoGP.
Which I would still love to know how George Russell got that appointment. And I know everybody voted on it, but why?
No one else wanted to do it. It was basically what it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say no way. Fernando and Lewis and
is basically is
you think is the best leader among us.
They were in the group me. And they went, all right, who wants to do it? And then George was like, I'll do it. And then just no one ran against him. And they were like, all right, you're it.
George is like, I'll do it, thinking everybody else would be fighting for it. And then they're like, okay, George, you're it. And he goes, huh? Nobody. What?
So Aleix Espargaro has basically said that he is more than happy to tell the race organizers that this track is unsafe and they won't race there. Like he's going to do a full track walk with like as many riders as he can to look at the track and see if there's anything sketchy or not cool about it before they tomorrow they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So that'll be because it's a new track and they've never raced there. But there's been a problem getting into the country because of work visas. So many MotoGP paddock personnel and riders, including Marc Marquez, were unable to board flights bound for India due to ongoing visa issues.
It cracks me up that you need a work visa to go to India.
If you're on the team, because you're making money. Because you're doing work, you need a work visa.
Guys,
now, you or I don't need one.
But, so, for the listener, I may not understand international law, but, like, if I were to go to the UK, why are you here? And I was like, I have a business meeting. I don't think they'd make me file for a work visa.
No, you also just wouldn't say that you're going for a business meeting. You just say that you're going on vacation.
Yeah, but see, like, Marc Marquez could just be like, I'm going to go watch the MotoGP race. And they'd be like, okay, enjoy your race, spectator.
Yeah, okay, see, but the problem, though, is Marc Marquez isn't in charge of this. And, like, all of the people who work for the team aren't in charge of this. They have people for that. Like, other people, like, Dorna Sport handles all of this.
Weird.
Dorna Sport handles all of the visas from one country to another. And it didn't work. So Marc Marquez got his visa. His visa got approved this morning. So he is on a plane to India, or he's already there. But this morning, he announced that he got a visa. Yesterday, he did an Instagram post that he couldn't get on his plane. Today, he can.
Wow.
So numerous members of the media and photographers have missed flights due to getting their visas on time. So there was a bunch of press stuff that got canceled. Simon Crayford, the announcer in the pits for MotoGP, he was one of the personnel who had issues getting into the country. And this is a statement from the track organizers and from the Indian government. We have been updated about the current issue of delays in the visa issuance process. They really didn't say what they were going to do to fix it, but apparently they've been working on it. And apparently it's mostly been fixed, and apparently it's okay. It's been really exciting, though, because all of the MotoGP teams have been posting on Instagram and social media. They're like, we made it! And it's, like, very exciting, whereas normally it's like, hey, we're just here.
No, you didn't.
So, yeah, that concludes my news. Mr. Patty, what would you like to discuss next?
Let's do NHRA. I'm just
NHRA, please.
Run through your favorite 3-second racing series. This is after, I don't even know what track this was, Maple Grove Raceway.
That's the straight one, right?
Yeah. That's the quarter-mile one, right? So,
thank you. Sorry, I had to do that.
Eighth of a mile now. I don't even know. It always changes. Guys, it's the same shit. Just keep it the same distance.
NHRA is quarter mile.
Okay. So, in top field, you have Doug Kalita, who beat Steve Torrance with a run of 3.662 seconds at 336 miles per hour in his Mack Tools dragster. And it's his first win since October of 2020. It is his 50th career win, and with it, he now is in contention for the championship. In Funny Car, you had the 100th career Funny Car final round for Robert Hight, and he won, this being his 64th victory. His pass was at 3.854 at 330. In his Camaro SS, he beat Chad Green in the championship round. He is now 3 points leading Ron Capps in the championship. And so he won there at Maple Grove. In Pro Stock, Matt Hartford won in his Camaro. He beat Kyle Koretsky in the final round with a run of 6.532 at 208. And this was his second straight race that he won. So good show for him. And then in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Matt Smith, who is your defending Pro Stock Motorcycle World Champion, beat his teammate Chip Ellis in the final round with a run of 6.807 at 198 on his Suzuki. It sent Matt into the points lead for the first time this season, and that is his second straight victory. I'm just going to say this, folks. I've been to a couple NHRA events now. The coolest event there is without a doubt the Pro Stock Motorcycle. Just
they're freaking rowdy.
Not even close.
They're rowdy.
When you hear one of those rev to heaven and then back,
I think Pro Stock bikes are up to like 18,000 RPM now.
And then when they release, and it's just it's incredible. So anyway, that all being said, that's some news. Some more personal news, because I work at Radford Racing School, but then also NHRA related. NHRA is coming back to Phoenix and racing again at Wild Horse Motorsports Pass, or Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. That'll be next year. That's up on the Radford Racing School LinkedIn, but also on the NHRA website. So if you're in the Phoenix area, if you're in Arizona, if you're in California or Nevada, and you want to come see some NHRA, make sure to check that out. I'll be there, and we'll have more stuff from that. But that is your NHRA news. Ben, what do you want to do next?
I will run through British Superbike real quick.
Yes, sir.
Then we can get on to other things. So this past weekend, we had another British Superbike race. I'm going to run through your podium only because if I run through all three races, we'll be here for a while. Your sprint race, your podium, Leon Haslam in third, Lee Jackson second, and Glenn Irwin once again top step of the podium. Moving on to race 2, Kyle Ride bumped up into third, Lee Jackson once again second, and once again Glenn Irwin in first. Moving on to race 3, your final race of the weekend. Lee Jackson was first, Glenn Irwin was second this time, and Tommy Bridewell picking up the top step of the podium. A lot of DNFs for each race. I'll run through those. For your sprint race, Storm Stacy, Luke Mossey, Jack Kennedy, Luke Stapleford, Ryan Vickers, and Louis Vallely DNF'd in the sprint. In race 1, Tom Neve, Franco Bourne, Jack Kennedy, Michael Dunlop, unfortunately, and Storm Stacy DNF'd in race 2. And in race 3, Franco Bourne, Luke Mossey, Jack Kennedy, Brandon Elliott, Michael Dunlop, and Louis Vallely once again DNF'd in race 3. The Beer Monster Ducati Duo still leads the championship by a substantial margin with only 2 weekends left for 2023. Now, the Beer Monster Ducati Duo is Glenn Irwin and Tommy Bridewell. Tommy Bridewell is in second with 360 points. Glenn Irwin is in first with 360.5 points.
Oh my lord.
They are super close. So round 16 was cut short. I think it was rained out if I remember correctly. I know it was round 16, but round 16 was cut short, so they only got like half points. It's a similar rule to what Formula 1 has if you do a certain distance. Like you have to do a certain distance to get half points, and then another certain distance to get full points.
Yeah.
So they got half points, so he got something 0.5 in one race. So the Beer Monster Ducati Duo are half a point separated with 2 rounds to go. 2021 Formula 1 don't got nothing on British Superbike this year.
Makes me want to smash a beer can on my head.
And then Kyle Ride, who rides for Yamaha, is in third with 300 points. He's pretty comfortable sitting there. Nick Patty, would you like to talk about NASCAR or IMSA next?
I'm going to run through some NASCAR quickly. I'm not even going to go into race results, guys, because it's the playoffs, and all that matters is who advanced and who didn't. So
Perfect.
Bristol was last weekend, and we have some eliminated drivers, guys, and I'm sorry. The first one is Michael McDowell. Second one is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Kevin Harvick ends his career, unfortunately, with only 1 championship, and Joey Logano. And trust me, I made sure to pull out my finest tuxedo for Joey Logano's downfall. It made me a very happy boy. I was just ear to ear, shit-faced grinning, excited that Joey Logano was not going to win 2 in a row. Advancing to the round of 12, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and William Byron. Truex Jr. and Byron are tied on points. Coming into the next race, which is Texas Motor Speedway. And the funny thing is it's actually this Sunday, and theoretically I could just buy a ticket and it would be...
You could go.
But I wouldn't want to do it without Shelby and Brendan, so I'd feel bad.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
I'll do it without Shelby or Brendan. I don't care.
Well, obviously, yeah. So this is according to NASCAR.com. Texas is going to favor Tyler Reddick because he's the highest average finish amongst all active drivers with a minimum of 2 cup races at Texas Motor Speedway, and his average finishing position is 6.8. Who it hurts, according to NASCAR, is Chris Buescher. Even with his run of form this season, he has never, in 13 races, finished in the top 10 there. He only has 1 finish inside the top 15. So, gonna be pretty tough for Christopher Buescher, but he's a native Texan. We're gonna hope he does well. And so that's this Sunday. So make sure to check it out on USA Network. I think that was all that was NASCAR related. So do you want to jump into IMSA and then Formula 1?
Jump into IMSA. I sadly did not get to watch it. I had a rather busy weekend. I got to look at results, but I did not get to watch it.
Yeah, so I watched most of it. I watched the first hour, and then about the last hour out of the.
How long was the race?
2 hours and 40 minutes.
Okay.
So I watched all but about 40 minutes, but the 40 minutes was in the middle. Guys, holy hell, it is about damn time.
It's pretty good.
Porsche
It's pretty good.
captain's home. 1-2 finish after the pole and blocking out the front row and qualifying. And it's my boys, the number 6 car. So I'm just going to do a quick little Autosport article brief. But the number 7 car started on pole. It was 3 wide into turn 1. Sebastian Bourdais and the Chip Ganassi Cadillac got into some contact. Matt Campbell was on the inside of Mitsubishi Yamane and the number 6, and Sebastian Bourdais locked up and caused a little bit of a kerfuffle, but it allowed Mitsubishi Yamane and the number 6 to grab the lead. Bourdais was spun by the number 60 Meyershank Racing Acura, who was then hit by Philip Eng in the BMW. It was a bit of a mess. That was what caused the first yellow flag because of the debris. Let's go down to your race results. And I'm going to do all of it, but I'm going to try to do it very quickly. In last, you have Ashton Harrison, Kyle Marcelli in their Acura. Then you have Anderson and Jones of the High Class Racing LMP2 car. You have Brendan Uribe and Frederick Schandorf in the McLaren. You have Bloom and Careba in their Ligier JS LMP3 car. You have Antonio Diaz Pereira and Andrews in a Mercedes AMG. This is going to take way too long. So the winners in GTD, what? This is not divided by class. I believe was Danny Juncadella and Jules Guna. No. It was the Windward Racing car that locked out both Michelin Tire Challenge and the main race. Let me just find. Anyway, it was Windward Racing, guys. Okay. Here it is. Ward and Ellis in the Mercedes AMG GT3 car, the number 57 car, won, sweeping the weekend because they won in GT4. In GTD Pro, Danny Juncadella and Jules Gounon won in the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes. Who cares about LMP2 and LMP3? LMP3 shouldn't even be a class. First place.
It should, just not here.
Exactly. All right, fair enough. In Hypercar, your top 9, Harry Tinknell and Jimmy Bruni in the 963 in 9th, 8th, Tijan Vanderhelm and Mike Rockefeller in the 963 in 8th, Bourdais and Van der Zande in the Cadillac in 7th, Tom Blomqvist and Colin Braun in 6th in the Acura, Ricky Taylor, Felipe Albuquerque in 5th in the Acura, Pippo Durrani and Alexander Sims in 4th, Hunter D. Filippi and Nick Yellowly in 3rd, Matt Campbell and Felipe Nazar in 2nd, Nick Tandy and Mathieu Jaminet in 1st. Going into the final round of the championship, it is all open. The top 3 in the championship are separated by 5 points. Totally random anecdote. Colin Brown just had a baby with his wife. Congratulations. But
congratulations.
Buckling the child in to the car. And the nurse that walked them down goes, "You're pretty good at that." And Colin Braun just goes, "Yeah, I have some experience buckling people into a car." And then
that's pretty funny.
Gets in the family car and takes off. And I'm just like, little did the nurse know that she's talking to a multi. He's like, "Yeah, I know something about harness and doing."
He's like, "I've literally spent days of my life practicing buckling other people into a bucket seat."
I would have turned around and just been like, "You have no idea." But
dude, it would have been I would have turned around and just been like, "Yeah, thanks, first time," and then like just got in the car and left.
Yeah, beginners will hop in.
Yeah.
So anyway,
perfect.
That is your IMSA results, guys. It was a fantastic Indianapolis race. In October, we have Petit Le Mans, Road Atlanta, 10 hours. It is going to be an absolute incredible race. And Ben, let me ask you, cast your mind back to Sebring this year. Do you remember in the last moments of a famed race any drama?
I don't. I really don't, I'll be honest.
No drama. You don't actually remember?
I really don't know.
You don't remember the two 963s taking each other out and fighting Pippo Durrani, and then Pippo Durrani getting wrecked?
Oh, that. Okay, I do remember that.
Win. The Wheeling Corvette, or the Wheeling Cadillac, is first in the championship with a Porsche 2 points behind it.
Just
I
saying.
think we're going to see some fireworks.
Could be exciting.
It will be.
Stay tuned. Anyway, do you know what was exciting?
You mean
This past weekend's Formula One race.
Okay.
Literally the best Formula One race all season.
I'm going to take 120 seconds and I'm going to rant. I'm so tired of acting like 2 hours of dog shit, lame ass racing with nothing going on. I'm so tired of acting like 10 minutes of, let's keep in mind, nobody passed each other in the top 4. Nothing happened. George Russell wrecked, unprovoked, no overtakes. And people are like, dude, that was the best race of 2023. I'm like,
it was.
It was not. You're telling me it was better than Zandvoort? Are you out of your mind?
I don't remember Zandvoort, Nick. I've slept since then.
Guys, okay, Jacob Villamain, I know you're listening. Comment, please, and help me argue that Zandvoort was better than Singapore. He'll agree just because Max won Zandvoort.
He'll agree because he's a Max fan. That doesn't count. You picked the most biased person you could think of.
No, I thought of somebody who was at Zandvoort, but
Fair enough.
I, at every point of the race, was sitting there. And before Alonso got a penalty, right? So I'm not even saying, oh, Alonso didn't do well, I didn't like the race. I was like, this race is taking forever. There is nothing happening. There are DRS trains. Nobody's carving their way through the field. Nobody's falling back through the field like a rock. There's no incredible overtakes. And then Alex Jacques, and I'm tired of him saying his name is Jakes because it's just not. It's Jacques. In no universe is that Jakes. That's Jacques. There's a Villeneuve that like to have a word with you. He literally said after the final restart with those 4 cars, or when Mercedes was catching, this is the pinnacle of Formula One. And I was sitting there, and I was like, if this is the pinnacle of Formula One, what the hell does that say about the discipline? Like, the pinnacle of Formula One is one team is like, we're not going to do the identical thing to everyone else. And that's the pinnacle. How about Zandvoort, where it's like, oh, you have 20 of potentially the world's best drivers on slicks, in torrential downpours, on a beach in Holland, and they got to figure out how to not wreck their cars that are making upwards of 800 horsepower. Like, you don't even have to like the racing. It was more challenging. It was a greater test of driver skill. And then on Twitter, everybody's like, oh, Singapore was such... Dude, I'm so sick of it. I'm so over it. And the fact that not a single overtake was made in the top 4, but people will act as if... Dude, Monza was a better race. Carlos Sainz defending at Monza was more impressive than anything any driver did at Singapore. Just en masse. There is not a single part of Singapore that was better than Monza. But somehow, what it is, and this is what just makes me upset, is Formula One fans are so, like blinders on. They're like, Max didn't win? Must have been race of the year. It's like, no. There's more to racing than who wins. But, okay, your turn. What that I've said is unfair?
No, that's pretty accurate. I'm going to run through your results. So going on to qualifying, P20, Lance Stroll, which was actually a pretty interesting part of the race because Nick Patty's team is falling to shambles. Lance Stroll.
I'm sorry. Who?
Lance Stroll on a very slow lap, like wasn't doing well, and then decided the way to fix that is to drive faster at the end of the lap, not abort the lap.
Not even a lie. I don't. Right. Right. Sorry.
So, was on a bad lap. Instead of aborting, decided, I'll just pick up the pace at the end. That'll fix everything. And stuffed it into a wall. Really fast. Kind of a terrifying wreck. Thankfully, Lance Stroll is okay. Congratulations on your tennis career.
And this goes back to the bullshit that makes me mad. The amount of people on Twitter. Oh, well. There's almost nothing left of the car. F1 needs to improve its safety. The fact that somebody has to literally
the safest Formula One car of all time.
Not to mention, the point of the bodywork and everything getting destroyed is to absorb impact.
It's the crumple. The car is the crumple zone.
This guy literally goes, I bet we could make a Formula One car with materials that wouldn't even get scratched at an impact like that. It would shatter every bone in the driver's body, but the car would be fine.
Sure, dude. They'd experience like 100 Gs, but car would be fine.
Car would be, you just buff it, and it's all bad.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't think you really I don't think you understand the purpose of a carbon safety cell. The part right around the driver, very strong. Everything outside of that, designed to come apart so that you don't die. Hence why, if you looked at the car, there's plenty of pictures of the car sitting there. It's just the safety cell and the motor. That's the purpose of the car.
And my love for Fernando outweighs my hate for. I am so sick of it, dude. I'm so sick of it.
Well, stay tuned for when Fernando Alonso retires for the 17th time, and then we only cover IMSA, WEC, MotoGP, and
I will
and IndyCar.
I will feel like the shackles have been released from my wrists and my ankles, and I will be let out of the dungeon that I've been imprisoned in.
Yeah, stay tuned for unshackling and undungeoning. Anyway, moving on. 19th, Zhou Guanyu. Logan Sargent was an 18th. Oscar Piastri, an unfortunate result due to that rather unfortunate shunt by Mr. Stroll. Qualified 17th. Valtteri Bottas, 16th. Yuki Tsunoda, 15th. Alex Albon, 14th. Sergio Perez was down in 13th. Pierre Gasly, 12th. The big news for the weekend, Max Verstappen, P11. The Red Bulls were not good this weekend. Didn't know that was something that could happen this season, but Max Verstappen 11th. And the man to put him there, Liam Lawson, who for some reason may not be getting a seat next season. Nico Hülkenberg was 9th, Esteban Ocon 8th, Fernando Alonso 7th, Kevin Magnussen was in 6th, Lewis Hamilton 5th, Lando Norris 4th, Charles Leclerc 3rd, George Russell 2nd, and Carlos Sainz was your poleman for this weekend. I'm going to run through your race results and then we will discuss. DNS, Lance Stroll, because that was a DNS, technically. Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, and George Russell, who DNF'd on the last lap. Fernando Alonso finished last in 15th, Logan Sargent 14th, Nico Hülkenberg 13th, Zhou Guanyu 12th, Alex Albon 11th, Kevin Magnussen grabbing that last point in 10th, Liam Lawson finishing 9th, getting 2 more points for AlphaTauri, that puts them at 5, Sergio Perez was 8th, Oscar Piastri 7th, Pierre Gasly 6th, Max Verstappen finished 5th, honestly an impressive drive from him, Charles Leclerc 4th, Lewis Hamilton 3rd, Lando Norris 2nd, and his bestest of pals, Carlos Sainz P1. Now, okay, no, it wasn't the best Formula One race to ever grace the surface of the earth. However, Carlos Sainz's strategy was impressive. Can we at least agree on that?
Yeah, but again, strategy is great for results. That's not why anybody who actually likes racing watches it, though.
Right, but
and before people jump my case, you can be hardcore into strategy, and that's why you enjoy motorsports, and that's fine. But the reason
the majority of people,
most people watch racing on TV as a form of entertainment is for what happens on the track, not what happens in the pit lane.
Right. If you watch a football race, a football game, sorry. I don't understand sports balls, okay?
Guess who doesn't watch football?
Oh, that'd be me. I don't care about sports that don't involve wheels. But if you watch a football game, there's a bunch of good plays, but nobody scores, not a good football game. So, basically this. Some talking points. Carlos Sainz with the big brain strategy, keeping Lando Norris within DRS range, because if Norris popped out of DRS range, George Russell would have passed, which would have put Carlos Sainz in danger of getting passed by Russell. So big brain move from Sainz, keeping him in distance. That was fantastic. They helped each other out there. That's kind of our only talking point. This kind of not cemented, but furthered proof that Carlos Sainz could be a better driver than Charles Leclerc.
He is.
I'm
survived thirsty hoes that just wanted to have a Formula One driver to crush on. Charles Leclerc wouldn't be popular. Changed my mind.
Possibly true. Anyway, Carlos Sainz, fantastic driver. I think will be at Ferrari for a very long time, unless someone gives him more money and a better car. Talking points. Liam Lawson. Congratulations, Liam Lawson. Third race, getting points. Qualified within the top 10. So he is the first Formula One driver to ever make their points debut at the Singapore Grand Prix. So congratulations to Liam Lawson. Nick, does Liam Lawson get a seat next year?
Should.
Okay. And where do you think he'll end up?
Oh, he won't. But he should.
Oh, he should. Yeah. But do you think he should replace Tsunoda or replace Ricciardo or replace...
I'm sorry. I love Ricciardo. If Ricciardo's in AlphaTauri, what results would they hope he gets? Points. Oh, he had 2 or 3 races and he couldn't do it? And here's this rookie who did it in his 3rd race.
Yep.
So the result you want, you're actively getting. You have it. It's there.
Right.
Why would you bring in a driver past his prime?
So current rumors are that he's replacing... Well, they were that he's replacing Tsunoda.
Oh, well, it's been confirmed, so I think Tsunoda's staying.
Yes, I think they're announcing that at the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend, that
Right.
Tsunoda's staying, which I mean thinks Ricciardo's staying, which means Lawson's probably not getting a seat.
Unless it's at Williams. But if I'm Lawson, why the hell would you leave the Red Bull family?
Right, because AlphaTauri has already announced that the car's going to get better next year.
Not to mention the fact, Checo isn't going to be there for another more than 2 years at a minimum.
Yeah,
or maximum.
absolutely. So, sadly, it doesn't look like Liam Lawson's getting a seat unless they kick out Ricciardo or they kick out Checo all of a sudden, which I doubt they're going to do. But if they kick out Checo suddenly, maybe they'll put Lawson in. I don't know.
I think the only reason Ricciardo will keep that AlphaTauri seat, or like the reason it'll be offered to him, isn't because Red Bull wants him in the car. I think it's because Red Bull knows if they take that seat from him, he'll leave the Red Bull family because he's not going to wait around forever. And he has too much market value as a personality to get rid of. I think Red Bull is consciously going to stomach not getting points just so they have...
For the sake of having Daniel Ricciardo.
Yep.
I think so. I would agree.
I guess him for building that brand, but...
Congratulations, Oscar Piastri, signed through 2026, which is big news. That's pretty cool. He confirmed through the first season of the new regulations, which so far, what I've seen, the cars will be both narrower, shorter, and louder.
Supposedly.
Approved, supposedly. That's kind of all the comments I had on Formula One. I thought it was a rather good race.
I'd love for people to leave comments below as to why you think I am right or wrong in my rant.
Oh, Mr. Patty, something we haven't discussed in a fat moment. Would you care to look at our little wager we have going on for Formula One?
No.
Okay.
How bad am I losing? Give it to me straight, Doc.
Oh, quite a bit. So in driver standings, you have 3 points. I have 5.
Okay, so I'm down by 2.
You're down by 2. The 2 that you have is Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Kevin Magnussen. And the 5 that I have is... What's up?
Oh, you're saying that are correct. Okay, gotcha.
That are correct. Those are your 3. My 5 are Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Lance Stroll, Nico Hülkenberg.
Okay.
Moving on to the Constructors' Championship, this is where things get bad for you. You have 2 correct. Oh. I have 6 correct.
How the hell? What?
I have the top 5 correct and the bottom correct. So you have Aston Martin and McLaren correct, which could be a problem for you going forward in the championship because they could swap positions.
Did I say Ferrari was going to be number 1?
You said Ferrari was going to be number 1. So you put Aston Martin 4th and McLaren 5th. Okay? So well done.
Is true.
Which is true. However, I put Aston Martin 4th and McLaren 5th as well. I also put Red Bull 1st, Mercedes 2nd, Ferrari 3rd, and AlphaTauri last.
How are we doing on the rookies?
On the rookies, things have not changed, and this is pretty much how this will be until the end of the season, unless Logan Sargent suddenly figures out how to drive, which isn't going to happen because I'll have to beat Oscar Piastri. So in the rookie standings, you have 1 point, I have 0. That is a guaranteed point for you because you put Nick DeVries last.
Oh,
You put DeVries last. We both put Sargent first.
Right.
Because he's American. So at the moment, you have 6 points. I have 11. So, yeah, Constructors Championship is holding strong for me at the moment. I'm very pleased with that one.
More drivers to do some more shit. So,
so the problem for you currently is I'm pretty much locked in for Red Bull first in the Constructors.
And I'm locked in for DeVries last, so that's a wash.
You're locked in for DeVries last, so there's those points confirmed. Now the questions are going to be, we both have Aston Martin and McLaren third or fourth and fifth.
Which way they're both going to lose or both get, so that's still a wash.
So that's still a wash. Mercedes and Ferrari, I think, is going to stay how it is. Mercedes second, Ferrari third. Yes, I think that's going to stay.
Swap, though, that loses you 2 points. I don't lose anything.
That loses me 2 points. That gains you a point, because you put Mercedes third. So if Ferrari overtakes Mercedes, I lose 2, you gain 1.
Now I'm a Ferrari fan.
Right. But I mean, Drivers' Championship, literally anything could change. Like, I have no idea. So, interesting thing about the Drivers' Championship, though, is at the moment I have in Nick DeVries and Liam Lawson as well. Or sorry, I have in Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson. Daniel Ricciardo is warranted because he's a signed driver.
Right.
But he wasn't in our predictions. Is the problem. So he could be a wild card and be in there randomly.
I like how that worked out.
I have Liam Lawson in there as well. Because he's doing good enough and has stood in for enough races that he deserves to be in the Drivers' Championship. Also, Liam Lawson is beating 3 other drivers in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. He's beating Logan Sargent, Nick DeVries, and Daniel Ricciardo.
Right.
So, 2 of those really don't count.
Well, stay tuned, folks, for the next chapter of inevitably a weird topsy-turvy prediction.
Well, but here's the thing, though. We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 races. That's including sprints. That could change this lineup significantly.
Wow.
So
that's a lot.
Yep, that is a lot. So that could change a ton. But that's super. I did not realize that I had Ferrari overtook Aston Martin in the Drivers' Championship, and that really did wonders for me. So I'm rather pleased with that one. But yeah, stay tuned for that madness, because that could be interesting. Nick, Patty, that is all I have.
That's all
for episode 77. Well, that's going to do it then for us here at the Clutch Dump. Like Nick said at the top of the show, make sure you go follow us on social media at the Clutch Dump. Stay tuned for news and other tidbits about episodes. Go follow Nick on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, for rapid fire, up to date, real time updates on motorsports and Twitter stuff. Whatever audio platform you're listening to this on, make sure you give us a following, subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It helps us find a bigger audience, grow, and build better content. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like and share the video. Comment down below your opinion on all of this. If you think Taka Nakagami should have a seat, if Liam Lawson should have a seat, if Liam Lawson should replace Max Verstappen for the rest of the season, something interesting like that. I don't know. But yeah, that's going to do it from us here at episode 77. We will see you next time.